name is Duncan McIntosh. I'm the Development Director at APNIC, and I'd like to very warmly welcome you to what is the 5th Women in ICT Lunch. We're delighted to once again host this event and welcome you all to what is APNIC's commitment to try to build and recognise the really important contributions that women in ICT make to the internet community in the Asia Pacific. We're particularly delighted to have a very distinguished panel who will talk to you after the lunch as well. But I also wanted to highlight to you a number of important aspects of the lunch. First off, you will see on every table a list of 4 questions. And I'd like to ask each table to recognise the 4 questions. I'm going to go around to make sure that you see the questions that are there on your table and ask that you discuss the questions on your table, because one of you will be invited to speak about the questions. So please have a look at the questions on your table there. Have a look at these questions, please, and be prepared to discuss them. One of you will be asked to speak afterwards. So I would invite you all, please, have a look at the questions on your table and discuss them. So we can invite one of you to speak. Have a look at the questions. Everybody's got the questions? Okay, that's great. After the lunch, we invite one person from each table to speak about what you discussed regarding all those questions. And we're particularly looking for the advice of each table on how we can further develop and expand this event. The discussions here are being recorded by Afifa. Can I ask Afifa, where is she? We have a reporter who will document the discussions, and then we'll look to present them at the annual meeting of APNIC community on Wednesday. So we're very keen to document and record and make this a very productive and substantive discussion, which, as I say, will be guided and led and inspired by our distinguished panel. So I'll stop there. We'll start again with the main part of the program in about 10 or 15 minutes. So please enjoy your meal and have a lively and productive discussion. Thank you very much. At the front of the room, so please invite you all to come up and take your seats. We'll start the next part, which is the discussion. So ladies and gentlemen, for this part of the program, as you can see, we have 5 distinguished speakers. I really encourage you to read the bios that are on the table in front of you. So please take a moment to read the very impressive contributions that our panel has made to ICT in Sri Lanka. I won't read those bios in detail, but the format now is we will go with each of our distinguished speakers and let them address one particular question. So please let me begin with Ms. Sakrita Ramas. And the question that we invited you to talk about was, what do you think a more inclusive, diverse technical community contribute to Sri Lanka and the Asia Pacific internet community?
Well, thank you for inviting me for this session. So, yeah, here to make you interesting points, but I have noticed my reaction to last years. I have personally conducted research on various theoretical engineers, network engineers, advanced Indian careers, history, and also unofficial few projects we are conducting towards gender-related issues in internet domain. So, when I talk about my research, so in Sri Lanka I was able to find only 8 female network engineers who are learning in the technical field. And but I was able to find why the number of network engineers is low, the reason. So here, this is what I have found. One is self-efficacy. Right? Only people who are remaining in the as network engineers has high self-efficacy. And on the other hand, we don't have any visible role models in the network engineering field in Sri Lanka. And perceptions of women recruitment in India and lack of viable career path in the network engineering field. And facing stereotypes about commitment and abilities based on gender. So that is what I have come across, and so I have two suggestions on that as well. So first thing on that because there are so many people from the corporate sector here, so please change the corporate culture. And we need few role models, at least one or two, if there are students, this is how they have carried out their level, and that is how they have succeeded in their career path. And work-life flexibility. So this is not like technical perspective, network engineering job is not the 5 hours or 8 hours job, it's 22 hours job, 360 days. So most of the in government sector we don't have the work-life flexibility, and that really remains to rebound from these careers. And more parts for female to enter into the field. And apart from that, the gender disparities and environmental education at primary, but in Sri Lanka, secondary education, we have high literacy rate. Though we have that, gender imbalance in environmental, technical related education is there. So impact of gender or stereotypes in content and process of education tend to limit the aspirations of the life chances of the women, and which moves and is impede to the development of their personhood and disempower them. And furthermore, the labor-based segmentation of the labor market and the glass ceiling that limits the upward mobility and warrants incredibly low representation not only in the technical field or the parliament, but also in the local assemblies of further evidence in inequality. Women, however, have been economically empowered by access to independent cash incomes, irrespective of the levels of employment. And your question goes back to the gender and disability. So we have been concerned about the differently able community as well. As Eyes of Sri Lanka, we have been concerning into separate projects, separate parts of this issue. So one is the differently able community. So we are trying to serve them like Internet Society, as Internet Society President. So our theme is Internet for all. So we are trying to reach that target by serving the differently able community and women, especially gender disparities. So we have a project called Beyond the Reach. So reaching the communities and get them powered. So we are like a internet empowerment. So Beyond the Reach is a society, and so far funded by the ISOP Beyond the Reach Beyond the Reach funding program. So in that project, basically we are targeting the visually impaired people, and we want to give them the technical awareness and bottom to top communication platform. So we are trying to reach them up to the next level. So when we talk about the different able community, there are so many barriers which they could face by the time accessing information. My attention was focused in different able community when we had to conduct training for the army veterans who served for the 30 years war in Sri Lanka. So they have requested from the Internet Society Sri Lanka to do something for them. So at the end of the training, we were able to train 20 trainees, and now they are all entrepreneurial businesses. And one guy was like one veteran soldier who is completely blind. After the training, now he is able to have his own communication software. So when it comes to the vision impaired community, the various research and buys, starting from each project, we are trying to move along with the rest of the world, which make them available to access the information. In my opinion, they are the stakeholders of the internet community, and we would serve them in a better manner, enabling them to engage with the rest of the world. In second part of that, the cyber security, safe internet programs. So it will be common to not only to the women, it will be common to everybody. But we are targeting the children at first. Women and children, our target is women and children. So we are planning to have safer internet camps in school level. And there is another project called Hitherity, which is under the safer internet theme. So it's like cyberbullying is one of the main issues, and ISOP Sri Lanka, as ISOP Sri Lanka, we set up that candidate where solution, now if we go to the main counterpart, the police situation will get worse. So ISOP decided to run this website to help the women in every possible way, such as legal and technical. So with the help of other universities and other communities like Texas and SSL. So gender analysis and gender and social impact assessment should be undertaken to ensure that. And national policies related to international and regional trade engagement do not have an adverse impact on women, new traditional and economic activities. So gender analysis must be made mandatory in all future trade negotiations, and gender should be taken for discussions at trade negotiations. Research on the relationships between trade and gender should be conducted focusing on areas of women's competitive advantage. I guess initiatives taken by ISOP will be a good example, and we are happy to share our experience with Asia Pacific region where we have common cultural backgrounds.
Thank you very much. I think some very interesting insights there, particularly around the need for role models, some really outstanding activities listed. So thank you very much for those comments, and thank you also to keeping to your time for 5 minutes. Very much appreciated. And now I'd like to introduce Professor Divika Diaz. Her question was, can you tell us a little bit about the role of the mobile phone has played in development in Sri Lanka, and what new technologies do you see on the horizon that will have a social and economic impact in Sri Lanka? Yes.
Thank you. Some of us remember a time in Sri Lanka where we had to wait many years to get a telephone. There was waiting list very long, and the regulators at the time were Professor Pinasco introduced wireless global route, and then the whole situation changed. And then the next revolution came towards the late 1980s when mobile services were introduced, and then from there onwards there has been public light, and Sri Lanka has been at the forefront of introducing introducing mobile technologies from 2G to 4G right until today. And so if we look at the statistics today, we have 24.7 million mobile phone subscriptions. And our population is around 21 million, so we have a penetration of more than 100%, about 160% as far as mobile goes. And one of the remarkable things about this is that more than 80% are prepaid subscriptions. So the mobile has been able to reach the masses excellently, and also then it's natural that the number of fixed phones has been significantly dropping in the past several years, and we have seen a steep increase in the number of mobile phones. And so the benefits, of course, it has been able to reach every corner of the country where all the communication needs to the people. And one of the interesting things I want to quote is what is called a bottom-up pyramid study done by an NGO called Indonesia. They studied the access to ICTs in what is called the bottom-up pyramid, the lowest income groups of society. And what they found, this is a little bit old, but still it shows the impact the mobile phone has made. More than 80% of these low-income households had a mobile phone, and the highest number of highest use of mobile phones was by self-employed people. And what they had said was that the biggest benefit is that the mobile phone gave them was reduction of travel. And the same study shows that among this group, the penetration of mobile phones is nearly the same as the penetration of electricity, TV and radio. In contrast, the nationwide penetration of computers today stands at 25% of households, whereas the penetration of mobile phones in this group of people at that time was nearly 90%. So the mobile, as we all know, is one of the most affordable means to connectivity and information, but and the economic benefits have been widely studied. But if we look at countries with similar penetration, mobile phone penetration as we have today, they have higher GDPs. So this suggests that maybe Sri Lanka has not benefited economically as much as it should from the mobile phone, and maybe there are two reasons for that. One, maybe the broadband penetration, smartphone penetration, English literacy, and so on. And also the statistics on broadband subscriptions show that the fixed broadband subscriptions are only 768,000, and the mobile broadband subscriptions are 3.5 million, whereas the mobile phone subscriptions are 27 million, 24 million. So there's a big disparity there, and also there's a big opportunity for broadband penetration in Sri Lanka. And also another key thing is that we need to see how people use their phones. In the bottom-up pyramid study, it showed that less than 2% use their mobile phones to access the internet, and the predominant users of mobile phones, other than making calls and text messages, was taking photos, videos, checking credit balances and bills, playing games and listening to the radio and music. So, and even in more affluent segments of society, where the smartphone penetration is much higher, we all know that mobile phones are mostly used for entertainment and social networking type of things. So if the mobile is to make more impact on the development of the country, we need to see how people can use it more productively. And of course, to support that, there is a very dynamic mobile environment in Sri Lanka. There is a variety of data packages, flexible data plans offered by all the operators, and a variety of value-added services coming up. for value-added services to differentiate their services, and there is a very dynamic developer community which is supported very well by the operators. They reach out to universities, to other young people to encourage them to work with them, and there has been a lot of progress in this direction, with ICT also supporting and many startups coming up. And one of the very special things about this kind of ecosystem is that this mobile for development services. There are many such services promoted by developed and promoted by the operators in association with others, related to health, to agriculture, to learning, and so on. And Sri Lanka leads the region in mobile for development services. So that those services have the potential of reaching all segments of society and giving them kind of productive applications to be used. And then we have many government services, news, examination results, other services related to learning and so on, ID, revenue license and so on, many services available to people, mobile banking and payments, and particular innovation of mobile money. The people who do not have accounts can still use mobile, who don't have mobile phones, who don't have bank accounts, can still use their mobile phone to do financial transactions. So, part of the question was about the future, where we need to increase, make broadband infrastructure more widespread, and to that effect, there is the countrywide fiber optic network being rolled out, and fiber to the home kind of services, and there is work going on in adoption of the national broadband policy and the launch of the Lanka government cloud. We expect the phone penetration to increase, improve with time, smartphone penetration, and more value-added services coming up from this developer ecosystem, particularly in the area of e-commerce, and more local language applications and content. All these will contribute towards better use of mobiles in future, and also we talk of IoT, Internet of Things. Still, nobody knows how it's going to work out, but I'm sure that there will be a lot of good things that we can do in terms of particularly energy, public services, and so on. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. Thank you for putting together those very interesting statistics on the extraordinary impact of mobile, and for pointing out as well, I think, that while we all recognise the impact of mobile, we need to understand in more detail how it translates into development impact. So thank you very much. Our next speaker is Professor Mahesha Kapurapanda, and we asked her to speak on, if you could give advice actually to yourself at the beginning of your career, what advice would you have given?
Okay, the advice that I would give myself is to have a vision and to plan my career from the beginning. Now, why I say that is that I started with the industry, and then I did my master's, during which time I developed a liking towards academia. But of course, probably my parents being academics would have influenced my decision. Then I had 4 attempts at my PhD, and I had to turn down 3 because I had 2 children who needed my attention, and I had to prioritize give priority to my family life. So I grabbed the 4th one. Even at the mature age, even though I did my PhD at the mature age, I was very happy with that. It was very satisfying. But looking back, I think if I had taken my decisions and had planned my career from the beginning, I would have completed my studies much earlier, and I would have been able to contribute much more to the academia. But I have no regrets. I'm proud of what I'm doing today. So having said that, now I believe that we all can do our part to educate or to create awareness among the females who are are aspiring to become graduates in ICT. Where I work at SLIT, we do a little bit by taking in graduates who do not get a chance to enter state universities because the state universities have limited capacity to take in graduates. But these female graduates, they come to SLIT and they pass out quite successfully, and they are holding good positions in Sri Lanka and overseas. So, to give a bit of statistics, right now our intake for ICT graduates is 1,200, out of which about 30% are females. And if you look at the graduating, the statistics of the graduating class, there are about 38% of are female graduates. So that shows that the retention of the females is more. And what we believe is, given them a chance, they would really appreciate the value of ICT and make use of the opportunities available. And then I would like to narrate a little story about a very successful story from our first batch. There was this girl from Anuradhapura, it's a faraway district, very limited resources for education, and she was denied a chance to enter a local university. But she came to SLIT and did a course in IT, topped our batch and won the gold medal from Curtin University, Australia. Then she opted to go to UNSW, Australia, to do her master's. And now she is a consultant, managing consultant at IBM. And she has also worked at Telstra, the telecommunication giant in Australia, National Australia Bank, and Energy Australia prior to taking up this position at IBM. So what I'm trying to say is, given them a chance, create awareness about the importance and the opportunities available at ICT, the females will become successful. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think there's a really interesting connection there, where you were saying 30% of graduates are women. Back to your first comments, where you were encouraging the corporate sector to look more at hiring women. I mean, the message is clear, I think, to the corporate sector. You're denying yourself 30% of graduates if you're not looking to hire more women. So I think it's a very clear point there. For our next speaker, it's Ms. Chitranganani, and we've invited you to talk on, could you reflect on the impact your presence has had for younger, emerging female leaders, and what will lead female leaders that you draw inspiration from? Thank you.
I really don't know if others have taken inspiration from me. I would like to think so, but for sure, in most forums that I go to, it's like a men's club. There are very few women around, and that is, I think the whole industry is very much skewed towards men, and I don't know, I don't think in my younger age I had role models, but now there are women holding high positions whom I really look up to, whom I'm impressed by. And recently I don't know if you already have heard this, I listened to an interview of Indra Nooyi, who is the CEO of PepsiCo, and some 14 years ago, she's now the CEO, and 14 years ago, she was working late in her office, doing some work that she had to complete, and she was going to be in office till around midnight, when she had a call from her management, and she was told that she was going to be appointed president of PepsiCo and onto the board of directors of the company. And she was so thrilled, she thought she was not going to work. PepsiCo is like an iconic company in the US, and for a woman to be appointed to the board of directors, she was really thrilled. She thought she'd go home and share this message, her good news, with her family. So she went home, she parked her car, and when she got out of her car, her mum came out to the top of the staircase and called down to her, and she said, she told the mom, I had some good news for you. And the mom said, the good news can wait. We need milk for tomorrow. Can you please go out and get the milk? And then she looked around and she saw her husband was already home. The car was already parked in the garage. So she said, what time did my husband come home? He came at 8 o'clock. So she said, why didn't you ask him to get the milk? He was too tired. She goes on to say what it is, but what it means is, and the mother said, your good news can wait, now just go out and get the milk. And when she came back, she went out, got the milk, took it to the mother and kept it on slammed it down on the countertop and told her, this is the news you didn't want to hear. I've been appointed to the board of PepsiCo and I'm going to be the president of PepsiCo. And the mother had said, you just listen to this. In this house, you are a daughter-in-law, and a wife. When you come into this house, you shed all your crowns. In this house, you're a daughter-in-law, a mother. So I think that is something that affects all women, wherever we are, whatever we do, in your home, it's your responsibility to make sure that, I don't know whether it's like in all your countries, but certainly in our part of the world it is, you can do whatever, but you need to make sure that the food is on the table, you need to do all those things. And the mom told her, you leave your crown in the garage, and when you come into the house, you're the mother, the woman. So I think that is a cross you all have to bear, and it's very difficult to crown it sometimes, but she has managed to now be the CEO of PepsiCo, and I think that is very impressive. And how she has done it is by, she's fallen back on lots of other resources, your parents, your friends, your secretaries, to do some of these work. So in the area of IT, it becomes even more difficult because there is a perception right from the beginning that technology is not for women. Like, you give dolls to girls and trains to boys. So that kind of perception has to go out from our parents themselves, from society, if we are to make a change.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that illuminating story that shows so many different aspects of the challenges that women face in ICT. I'd like to invite for our final remarks Ms. Dilruski Gamanaj to talk about her experience in the private sector and how well you think tech companies are harnessing and retaining female talent in Sri Lanka, and are companies effectively addressing issues like the gender pay gap and maternity leave?
Thanks, Sinan. Well, I'll start with this story. I'm here today because I'm representing ITC. Anybody knows ITC? I'm representing ITC in the engineering sector here. In 2015, we started ITC engineering section for like the first time. And we had a Sri Lanka section, but that's ITC. But 2015, specifically for females who are particularly sorry about that. Okay. We particularly were interested in females who are having a background of ICT. So we actually, the section conducted a forum, a WIET forum, which we invited industrial giants to participate and see what are the talents that we can see from the Sri Lankan sector women. So if there's, I see a lot of Sri Lankans here, they will know. If you take a fresh graduate, there will be like top 10 companies that you are dreaming to grow. So in Sri Lanka, we have like top 10 companies. Like one is few are Silicon Valley investors like Kate Labs, Virtues of the Line. Some other companies are Virtues of the Line, and Millennium IT, 99X, and WSO2. So those are the familiar names for fresh graduates. So now I was glad to see the top HR people from those companies are females. So we brought them for the forum and asked them, if they are to hire a female, what would they look for? So they said there were lots of interesting talks about that forum. This is basically, they're not particular about females. We want talent. Whoever, the female or the male, we want talent. So if a female to be talented, what they have to do, the first thing was came into a question like Viduni from Melanie and Mike can remember, as I can remember. She was particularly saying that women are like most of the time they inverted themselves, like they're not forward enough. Let's say if the new project comes, she knows if it's about a new challenge. Females are tend to be, given them the play, you play this role like that. So Tiffany was particularly saying that females should have that courage to nominate themselves. Yes, I can take this challenge. Let me start with this project. So that initiation should be there. So as far as the common thing which was gathered in the forum was females are introversion. So that has not been there. So other than that, they are really talented, but they're not going forward. And that's why we had the IEEE Sri Lanka section forum. And then one other incident was like we had a robotic competition and also hackathons. Now, when we have hackathons, females are not participating because they always think boys are doing great. You don't get a chance. So there were 5 or 6 requests to have only female competition so that we can be comfortable in challenging each other. So then they go for the other level. So we are thinking about that one too. But as to say, when it comes to the talent, securing the talent in the general industry, most of them confirm that there is no particularly gender bias into the salaries. There's no, you have the software engineer female and the male. There's no salary difference, but always when it comes to the promotions and all, as the colleague said, females have these other obligations, so it's difficult for them to keep the work-life balance. So most of the companies really try to address that. For example, which is a Polaris, and most top companies have the females to have the maternity leave and then work from home sectors, and also particularly IFS industry in Sri Lanka, that they specifically have a daycare center for females in the company. They can bring their even 6 months old baby, they can keep them and then feed them, look after them every time they want when they're working. So that's one of the interesting things that they are working on. And also one of the ways to also have a full kind of thing so that they can keep their babies entertained until they work. And every company, the government also have this regulation to have maternity, but beyond that, the mutual understanding is cultivated in Sri Lanka, but not as the other companies. Now, recently I visited a conference called Grace Hopper. Anybody knows ACM Grace Hopper conference? Okay. So, and also Richard Tapia conference, which talk about diversity in computing, ITC sector. So the giants like Facebook and Google and LinkedIn, they all talk about they have separate divisions. The giants in their companies, especially they think if they bring up the female talent, the innovation in the companies will grow, and they have the statistics too. So my wish is to bring that kind of culture in Sri Lanka too. So with the from IEEE Sri Lanka sector, well, we hope to do that. So and also it's the female's duty to have these inspiration characters, talk about the how we can help each other. So with that, keeping that in your mind, in this audience, I would like to invite you all to take part in other female conferences and inspire the females in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some really interesting examples while she's doing that, I just want to highlight on every table there is a form where you can leave your name and your contact details to keep involved in this activity. So please look at your table and fill in the form and provide your name if you're interested to continue this. Please, your question.
I'm Sudarshini. I'm from Sri Lanka and I'm a fellow here. Actually, I graduated from the University of Paradena in electrical and electronics engineering. And while I'm working, actually I'm agreeing with Madam Chitrangeli Mubarak that what you said, I have similar experience, and also actually when we go home, actually whatever the things we are doing here, nothing is important. When we with our kids and when we are in our home stuff, if we are getting call from our office or that whatever workplace, then they are thinking it's not a good thing, it's unnecessary thing. Actually, basically I'm from the rural area, and in my place I can see that people don't know about what is the role of this ICT that entail for these companies, their responsibilities. And actually, if one nurse is going at late night and going to hospital and working and coming, and no one is telling anything. But being engineer, if we are going out very late night, they are looking at different angles. So that means in our society, they don't have good understanding about what is our role and the responsibilities. Then I would like to ask actually that what are the initiatives taken in top levels, just like you ladies, and to improve the awareness of the community, especially the rural areas. And actually I have to tell one thing, even we have a lot of regulations about maternity leave and also the gender diversity, and people perception is different. When actually a bad experience I had after I passed out from the university, when I gone for interview, they asked, "You are a lady. Can you promise us that you are not going to have a baby until 2 years?" That question I got. Actually, this is the situation in industry. We don't mind what are the things we have in the regulatory or anything. So how we mitigate this?
It's really awful if they tell you something like that. I mean, I think that is a violation of basic human rights, and that is something you can sue them for, I think. But in general, across the country, I think in lots of our countries, there is an absolute need to create awareness that on this perception of the type of jobs women should do. Like she said, a nurse, okay, you can come home late. But as an engineer, you are not to be an engineer, to be a teacher, to do a government job kind of thing that you do 9 to 5 and you get home. I mean, I can take from SLIP, for example, the IT graduates, there are 30%, around 30% graduating as graduates, but when you look at the staff, it's reversed. More females teach because it's a regular job. You can take your maternity leave and stuff like that. That's because of the perception. So she asked, what are we doing to create awareness? I mean, we have to create awareness in 2 places, amongst the community and among policymakers as well. They need to be aware as well. So we have a series of programs that we are doing in educating policymakers on using importance of ICTs and importance of ICTs for women. And we also have a program called, I'll just say this very quickly, otherwise I'll take a lot of time, called social circles, which are, we hope to have one social circle in each Gram and Nilidari division, which is the smallest administrative community in the country. So at the moment we have about 100 such, and these social circles will take the message to the rural areas on what ICTs are, what it can do, how it can help people, the kind of job opportunities available for people through ICTs. So it will take time. I think this perception has to change among men as well. So all of us talking, we should not only be talking to women, we need to be talking to men as well. In this, they also need to take note.
Thank you very much. We have time for one more question.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Afifa Abbas from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I was a fellow last time in APNIC. Every woman in a certain point of their life, they have to decide whether they should stick with it or they should just give up with this ICT world. As a network engineer, as someone has already mentioned, that it's not a 9-to-5 job. So in my organization, I have already seen that many brilliant performers they have left out, and not by their choice. So have you ever faced this kind of situation, and if yes, how did you overcome that? Thank you.
I can tell you from my experience. Well, from the beginning, I thought I should not give up on my dreams. So, from the beginning, I wanted to come this far, and that was always on my mind. So, as I said, I'll tell you from my experience. I was a mother of 2 young children, and my husband did not like me coming home late. Even now, he doesn't like me coming home late. And but then I developed my own mechanism. So I will go home on time, leave the office at 5 o'clock, but I take my work home, attend to the children's work, put them to sleep, and that's when I start working. Around 10 o'clock, maybe till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night. Even now I do the same thing. But then, especially coming from our region, our background and culture, had to make that sacrifice. But my daughters are not like that. They are very moderate. They fight for their equal rights. But our generation, it was like that. I don't think you have to give up on what you do, on your dreams. So it's a matter of educating, coming to a compromise with your family, and working on it. I hope I've answered your question. Do you want to add anything?
So in profession, I'm also a network engineer. I do face similar sort of incidents. Like when I was working late night, like there was a server failures and so on. My father used to come and sit with me till I finished my work. So that's how things are happening. But I was able to persuade them that I'm safe and I'm able to do. I'm able to handle myself. I'm safe there. And when I'm talking about my male colleagues. So mostly they were talking about the masculine part of the networking side. So you should convince them that networking is not a masculine job. You have to use your brain, and there are ways, some things you could do with your, we have our own feminine ways. But your talents are the same. So you should be able to convince them. I'm similar to you. So now when I'm talking with my colleagues, they said, we don't feel you as a woman, you're just a colleague to us. So we have to build up that environment in your workplace. That's what my advice is.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, so I'd just like to invite a representative from an Executive Council, Ms. Jessica Chen from China, to make some closing remarks. Please, Jessica, thank you very much.
Thank you, Duncan. I'm Jessica Shen. Thank you all for your participation today. On behalf of the EP members, I really enjoyed this section. Hope you too. There are so many wonderful and inspiring experiences and ideas for
there, and some good questions. I hope I hope this section can help us that more women to participate in this community. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jessica. I think Jessica is an outstanding example of the role you can play and have an ambition to achieve to join the Executive Council of APNIC. I encourage all of you to look at that example and think you too can be a representative of your community on the Executive Council. Finally, please join me in thanking our distinguished panel for their time and their very interesting presentations. That brings to an end the ICT lunch for women today. We really thank you for coming along and contributing, and we look forward to your ideas on how we can develop and further evolve this activity. Thank you all very much.